Have you ever caught yourself pulling away from people and not really knowing why? Friends you used to laugh with now feel like strangers. Small talk wears you out, and the idea of a crowded room, once exciting, now feels like a storm you'd rather avoid. And in those quiet moments, maybe early in the morning or late at night, you ask yourself, what's happening to me? Why do I feel this need to be alone? Am I changing or just shutting down? Let me tell you something that might ease your heart. You are not broken. You are not becoming antisocial. You're not losing your spark. What you're feeling is normal. And more than that, it's scientifically understood. As we age, our inner world begins to shift in subtle, powerful ways. Ways that make us rethink relationships, energy, time, and even ourselves. In this video, we'll explore 5 profound psychological reasons why people begin to avoid others as they grow older, and why that shift isn't something to fear, but something to understand. These reasons might surprise you. They might comfort you, and they may help you forgive yourself for wanting less noise, fewer people, and more peace. Because aging isn't about fading away from the world. It's about coming home to yourself. So take a deep breath, find a quiet place, and let's walk through this journey together toward clarity, calm, and a deeper understanding of the beautiful person you are becoming. Brain sign number 1. Your brain prioritizes emotional energy, and it's quietly rewriting your social life. Let me ask you something. Have you noticed that your patience for drama has shrunk? That noisy gatherings feel overwhelming, and deep, calm conversations feel like a warm blanket? If so, there's a reason for that. And no, it's not just getting older. It's something brilliant happening inside your brain. It's called socio-emotional selectivity theory, and it was developed by psychologist Dr. Laura Carstensen at Stanford University. And it says this: as people age and become more aware of their limited time, they naturally begin to prioritize emotionally meaningful experiences. Think about how profound that is. It means your brain is no longer chasing quantity. It's seeking quality. You're not avoiding people. You're being selective, deliberately and wisely. Because after decades of birthdays, weddings, funerals, heartbreaks, gossip, and noise, you've learned what's truly worth your energy. You've realized not every friend is a forever friend. Not every event deserves your time. And not every conversation is worth having. So instead of feeling guilty for stepping back, celebrate it. You're not disconnecting. You're refocusing. You're letting go of what's shallow so you can hold on to what's deep. You no longer need a crowd to feel full. Sometimes, all it takes is one real smile, one honest conversation, or even a few quiet hours alone in your own presence. This isn't a withdrawal. This is wisdom in motion. Your brain, your beautiful, aging brain, is finally working for you, filtering out the noise, sharpening your priorities, and whispering gently, choose peace over popularity. Choose meaning over maintenance. Choose fewer, but better. And isn't that the greatest kind of freedom? Thought balloon sign number 2. Small talk becomes shallow, and you crave depth. Have you ever found yourself in a room full of people, yet felt more alone than if you'd stayed home? Everyone's laughing. The conversation flows. But to you, it all feels hollow. Did you see that new series? Can you believe the weather lately? Traffic was awful today, wasn't it? You smile. You nod. But inside, something is missing. What happened? Why do these conversations, once fun and easy, now feel like noise? Here's the truth. As we grow older, our threshold for small talk starts to shrink, and our hunger for meaning begins to grow. It's not a coincidence. It's not a mood. It's a deep psychological shift. You start to ask yourself, what are we really talking about here? Do these people really see me? Or am I just acting, smiling because it's expected? This isn't you being grumpy. It's not social decline. It's emotional maturity. You've lived enough life to know that time is precious, and you want your words to matter, your presence to feel real. You'd rather sit quietly with someone who understands your silence than laugh loudly with those who don't know your heart. You're not trying to be difficult. You're trying to protect your peace. You no longer want to perform. You want to connect. And that's not a flaw. That's not weakness. That's wisdom speaking. Because sometimes the loudest truth is this: You don't need a room full of chatter. You need a single, honest moment with yourself or someone who truly gets you. So if you step back from shallow exchanges, if you find joy in solitude and meaning in fewer conversations, you're not pulling away from life. You're finally learning how to live it on your terms. Mantelpiece clock sign number 3. You've outgrown your social masks and finally feel free. Have you ever looked back on your younger self and realized how much effort it took to be liked? How often you smiled when your heart was heavy? How often you agreed just to avoid conflict? How many events you showed up to even when all you wanted was rest? You didn't always want to say yes. You didn't always feel happy. But still, you went, you laughed, you performed. Not because you were fake, but because you felt you had to. Because fitting in felt safer than standing out. Because pleasing others seemed more important than listening to yourself. And so, like many of us, you wore masks. Not the kind you can see, but emotional ones. The I'm fine mask. The easygoing mask. The I'll be whoever you need me to be mask. But then, something started to shift. Slowly, quietly, powerfully. You began to outgrow the act. With age came something extraordinary, clarity. And with clarity came courage. You started thinking, I don't need to go if I don't want to. I don't need to pretend to be okay just to keep others comfortable. I can be real and still be enough. This isn't selfishness. It's not isolation. It's something psychologists call identity consolidation, a profound stage of emotional maturity where you finally stop seeking permission and start seeking truth. And that truth says, you don't have to fit into anyone's mold. You don't have to explain your silence. You don't have to carry the weight of everyone else's expectations. You don't need to impress the room. You only need to be aligned with yourself. So if you've begun skipping events where you once felt obligated to smile, if certain friendships have quietly fallen away because they were built on performance, if solitude feels more honest than forced connection, you are not growing cold. You are growing whole. Because in this stage of life, authenticity is no longer optional. It's the only kind of peace worth protecting. You're not withdrawing. You're finally showing up as the real you. And there is something so quietly powerful in that. Broken heart sign number 4. You've experienced loss, and it changed you. There comes a moment in life, often quiet, sometimes sudden, when everything changes, not because of what you gained, but because of what you lost. A partner, a sibling, a lifelong friend, sometimes even a child. And in that moment, when the phone stops ringing, when the house feels too still, you realize something that no book, no doctor, no well-meaning friend ever really prepares you for. Grief doesn't just break your heart. It reshapes it. It changes how you show up. It changes how much of yourself you offer. It changes what you look for in others. Because your inner world has been permanently altered. You used to open up easily. You used to say yes to invitations without thinking. You used to smile in a way that didn't take effort. But now, you hesitate before answering the phone. You pause before walking into a room full of people. You find peace in quiet spaces where memories are loud, but expectations are silent. This isn't weakness. It's not depression. It's what psychologists call protective withdrawal, a gentle, natural pulling back from emotional risk after deep emotional loss. You're not running from life. You're simply being careful with what's left of your heart. Because once you've loved someone deeply and lost them just as deeply, you no longer socialize for the sake of filling time. You seek meaning. You seek safety. And sometimes you simply seek silence. Some days, the world feels too heavy to join. Some days, you'd rather sit with memories than force new conversations. And you know what? That's okay. Healing doesn't follow a schedule. Grief doesn't expire. And needing space isn't the same as giving up. It's rebuilding. Slowly. Quietly. With candlelight instead of fireworks. With softness instead of spectacle. So if you find yourself avoiding people more after a loss, please understand, you're not withdrawing from the world. You're protecting the parts of you that are still tender. And that's not loneliness. That's love. Still living inside you. Still learning how to breathe again. Counterclockwise arrows button sign number 5. You've learned that inner peace is worth protecting. There comes a point in life, after all the noise, all the striving, all the heartache, when one quiet truth settles into your bones. Peace is the most valuable thing you have. Not money, not praise, not the approval of the crowd, just peace. The kind you feel in your chest when you wake, without anxiety. The kind that wraps around you in a quiet room with soft light and no demands. And so, with time, you learn to protect it. You stop over-explaining. You start saying no without guilt. You no longer chase relationships that drain you, conversations that irritate you, or situations that threaten your calm. This isn't selfishness. It's not isolation. It's a quiet, powerful psychological shift called emotional boundary maturity, a sign of deep personal growth. It means you stop viewing rest as laziness. You've stopped viewing solitude as loneliness, and you've stopped apologizing for choosing peace over performance. Because you've seen the cost of chaos. You've felt the toll of trying to please everyone, and you've watched others wear themselves out chasing noise that never brought meaning. Now you choose differently. You guard your mornings like sacred ground. You decline drama without blinking. You protect your mind like it's the last quiet garden in a noisy city. You don't need permission. You don't need applause. Because you finally understand, inner peace isn't optional. It's survival. And if that means skipping the party, turning off the news, or spending your day alone with a book, a brush, or your own breath, so be it. You're not fading away. You're finally living in alignment. Because the most powerful kind of strength in old age is knowing exactly what's worth your time, your energy, and your precious, beautiful calm. Clapperboard Oyudiaro. Your circle may shrink, but your peace will grow. Have you noticed it? The invitations come less often. The phone rings a little less. And somehow, that no longer feels like loss. It feels like relief. Because when you've lived through decades of joy and sorrow, of noise and silence, of giving and giving and giving, there comes a moment where your soul whispers, I just want peace. And that's when it begins. The gentle unraveling of the unnecessary. The letting go of shallow obligations. The quiet realization that you don't need more people, just the right ones. If you've been pulling back, if your calendar is emptier, but your heart feels lighter, if solitude feels like healing and not punishment, you are not alone, and you are not broken. You're finally becoming who you were always meant to be. Because aging is not about fading away. It's about refining, distilling, strengthening what matters, and releasing what doesn't. Fewer conversations, but more truth. Fewer crowds, but more clarity. Fewer obligations, but more ownership of your time, your energy, your soul. And if your circle has grown smaller, but your inner world feels bigger, fuller, calmer, that's not loneliness. That's freedom. So take this season of life as permission. Herb to rest without guilt. Herb to say no without explaining. Herb to walk slowly, sit quietly, breathe deeply. Herb to cherish your own company like an old friend. Because the peace you feel now, you earned it. You protected it. And now you get to live it. You're not avoiding life. You're finally living it on your own terms. And that is the most beautiful kind of life there is.